Greetings and welcome to Monster Legends for another special feeding episode. This time I'm going to be feeding a fellow that I picked up on the limited path of the Lizard Graveyard Maze. And this is Zorgon. And Zorgon is a legendary. Zorgon is darkness. He's very spiritual. He's into mechanics. And of course he's got time for villainy. Unfortunately, he doesn't have time to show up with lots of open ruin slots. He only has the minimum, the bare minimum. So we're going to have to see whether or not he is worthy of investment. Now, he has been referred to as the poor man's Shade Moon. And why don't we put him with Shade Moon? Yeah. Okay, he likes to stab, but somehow it has a pew-pew on it. Can't wait to see what that one does. Alright, so where is he now? Alright, this is... Okay, we'll find something good for him. Alright, and Shade Moon, please try not to make fun of him. It's not his fault. This is Zorgon. He is a legendary. He is darkness. He has an evolving trait. Alright, let's take a look at it. At rank 0, what he has now, he is immune to possession. At rank 3, he gets a stat cast for self-dodge, just like Shade Moon starts with, right? So I'm guessing that's where some of the issues come for him. Alright, well, we're not going to be ranking him up to 3 today, now are we? Nope. Alright, so let's look at the stats. His strength is pretty good. His life is that typical these days? I mean, everybody seems to have like 205. I'm not really sure what that's up with. Maybe he's a tank. And his speed is actually not so bad. I'm guessing he's a damage dealer from the old stabby knives he has, but I guess we're going to find out. Let's check out his initial skills. Attention! Deals low physical damage to one enemy, and then, of course, there is all PZ members. Deals low dark damage to one enemy. That's interesting. His second attack is actually low damage. That's very rare, especially for someone who's a damage dealer. Alright, and of course, that very interesting pew-pew attack. PZ Leader's Command. Removes positive status effects from all enemies, deals very heavy dark damage to all enemies, applies Corrupted to all enemies. Alright, so he's going to take positive status effects off, so in case they maybe have like immunity to possession or something like that, where it's not a trait. He's going to do damage to all of them, and then he's going to corrupt them. So that's the exclusive form of possession, so it's harder to resist that one. Alright, well that sounds kind of interesting. That could definitely turn a battle. Hackster has been using encrypted systems to protect precious information about the strengths and weaknesses of every monster in the multiverse. We have a multiverse now. Everybody has a multiverse. His work guarantees the balance in battles. But now he has detected an intruder in the system. Zorgon has accessed the monster database. What is he planning to do with the information? Considering he's a villain, probably nothing good. Let's help him. Alright, so let's start feeding him up here to his final evolution at level 4. Okay, so there he is, his final form. He's got stabby going here. And I see he's got some scabbards on his back there to hold his blades. I guess those are swords. They look a little short. They look like long daggers. But hey, whatever gets the job done. Alright, now let's work on the skills. They start at level 7. No one makes you miss. Deals moderate dark damage to all enemies. 50% chance of applying blind to all enemies. Oh, that's interesting. So he starts with a group attack with a 0 cooldown. That may blind. Okay, that was different. That's right. Didn't they change the feed up? I think they did. That was a little bit strange. That was very shocking there for a moment. All right, let's continue and see how this works out for us. RNG hacked by PZ. Who is PZ? I guess that's an organization he runs. Deals moderate special damage to one enemy. 50% chance of applying hacked to one enemy. All right, that's corrupted. Alright, so he's going to hit one guy, 1 round cooldown, 50% chance of corrupting. Okay. Yeah, that's different. Alright, so let's continue to level 15. We're closed. Applies guard down to all enemies. Well, why don't we just throw that there? We're not going to keep that. If you put it with something else, yeah. Alright, so let's continue to level 19. 20, I should say. Destroy spy ninjas. Restores all cooldowns on itself. Applies mechanical hater to itself. Gives one extra turn to itself. I'm going to put that one right over there because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be keeping that one. Okay, so this is something you'd want to use him against mechanical ones, even though he himself is mechanical. That's pretty good right there. All right, so let's continue to level 25. Spy devices. Removes positive status effects from one enemy, deals heavy dark damage, and applies guard down to one enemy. Well, why don't we just throw that there because that could be useful, and at the moment, it's his biggest single target attack. Yeah, that is going to be a little hard to get used to. Let's continue to level 30. PZ Virus. Deals massive dark damage to one enemy, applies nanovirus to one enemy. Alright, well, why don't we just throw that there for now. We may have to make some hard choices here, depending on what the next couple of skills show us, right? Alright, let's continue to level 35. Avoid exposure. Deals moderate dark damage to all enemies, applies blind and nanovirus. Okay, that's a 2-round cooldown. That's actually pretty cool right there. Alright, so I'm going to put that there because I think that's kind of the big one I would go with. He's not as much damagey as he is supporty, I'm getting the idea here. Because he's got debuffs and, of course, possessions. I'm sure he's going to get a full corruption. He already has one. I don't think he'd get a group one. We'll have to see. Alright, let's continue to level 40. Always watching you. Removes positive stats effects from all enemies, applies guard down, and deals moderate special damage to all enemies. Well, that's interesting, because he's going to remove positive status effects, then put guard down, and then hit them. That's interesting. It almost guarantees a hit. It really depends on whether or not the guard down lands or not. But it does remove positive status effects before the attack, so that's actually kind of interesting. I'm not really sure. I mean, this is a bigger version of this. I mean, the one I got does more damage, but this is kind of his big damage one. So it's not his big one. When I grabbed it, I said it was his big damage one. It really isn't anymore. So, I mean, what do I consider to be more important? The dark damage, the heavy dark damage, or removing positive status effects from the entire enemy team and giving them all guard down? I think that's kind of a no-brainer, so yeah. Alright, so let's continue. We should have one more left. I'd be very curious as to see what it is. Level 45, maybe? Alright, not that one. Alright, so level 50, maybe? Hack the Tube. Deals very heavy special damage to one enemy. Applies corrupted to one enemy. Alright, so that means... Do I have to make a choice? Alright, so I don't want to lose that one, because that one just works really well, especially if you run into mechanical. But if nothing else, restoring his cooldowns and then giving him an extra turn, that's really kind of good right there. Especially considering it does have a 1-round cooldown. So if he gets his cooldowns activated, after one turn, he can have any skill back. Kind of hard to say no to that. Impossible to say no to that. Gonna keep that. I mean, that's a group attack, you know. Here's the question. Do I want to corrupt or do I want nanovirus? Now, here's the thing. I'm already giving them nanovirus with this one. And it's 3 turns. So I'm thinking a corruption is probably a better idea. I mean, it's the same cooldowns. Is a little bit more stamina, but that's kind of insignificant. It's also special damage, which isn't such a bad thing. I'm losing damage, but I'm gaining corruption, and I think gaining corruption is a good thing. Yeah, that's going to be hard to get used to. It is indeed. All right, so let's just get him up to level 60. And we're going to skip and get him up to level 60. And skip. All right. I'm just going to take a very quick look here. The spy devices, that's for one enemy. We got the group one. I mean, that's a good one, but I'm already giving them nanovirus, and I'd rather be corrupting them. I just love corrupting monsters. And I do believe that that is it. All right, let's take a look at his skills. Pardon me, his stats. His strength's very good. It's over 2,300. His life is good, but basically everybody's life these days is good, right? Speed's actually pretty good. It's over 2,200, so he is going to be acting quickly. He does a lot of effects, debuffs, and of course the torture effect, which also is kind of a debuff when you look at it, you know, the nanovirus. So he's not pure damage. He does a lot of things here. And as a matter of fact, in terms of looking at all the things he does, why don't we look at his skills and then see what we have here. All right, we'll start with this one. This is his big one. Very useful in groups. Avoid exposure. Deals moderate dark damage to all enemies. Applies blind and nanovirus to all enemies. All right, so this is, it's kind of high moderate damage. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them. It's only got a 2-round cooldown too, so we can use it once every 3 turns. Unless, of course, it uses a skill at the end. We're going to get to that one. So blinding, which means there's going to be like a 50% chance of them missing. Whether it is actually 50% if you're on the left side, pardon me, the right side of the screen or not is really questionable. But nanovirus is as a torture effect, and among other things, it will, I believe it blocks positive status effects from being placed on while it's there, so it is kind of useful. And of course, it's a torture effect, so it does damage. But it's more of a supporty thing, right, to keep the other team from doing something, maybe like shielding or buffing or something like that, unless they remove it. And then we have this one. Always watching you. Removes positive status effects from all enemies, applies guard down, and deals moderate special damage to all enemies. All right, the damage is on the low side, but I think that the other parts of it are probably more useful. Right, it's going to remove positive status effects from the enemies, which means if they have shields on, they have regeneration on, they have like double or triple damage on, poof, it's all gone. It's also going to remove those immunities too. So if somebody was possessed and now they're immune to possession, boom, that's gone. That can be very, very useful. It will also remove a Megataunt effect that came from the trait of a Megataunt tank. So yeah, this can be very, very useful indeed. Now, guard down means that if a target has guard down, an attacker cannot miss. Even if the attacker has total blind, they cannot miss. A side effect of that is if an attacker is using a skill that has like a 50% chance of hitting, it's going to hit. The effect is going to take. I've never seen that not work. So guard down can be very, very useful in setting up the enemy. That's kind of a setup attack right here because you're taking away positive status effects and you're giving them guard down. So you're setting them up for the rest of the team, but then again, you're also going to attack them yourself with moderate special damage. Low moderate, but you know, it's a nice throw-in. You never know, maybe they're low damage or something. His strength is pretty good too, so, I mean, there's justification definitely for putting strength on him. You know, that way he's going to do more damage. And then we have this one. Hack the Tube. Deals very heavy special damage to one enemy, applies corrupted to one enemy. All right, so obviously it's a really nice special damage hit, single target, and it's going to try to apply Corrupted. Corrupted is the new grouping of the exclusive possessions. What that means is if the target has the trait Immune to Possession, it doesn't apply to Corrupted because it is a different kind of possession. Mind you, when it wears off, it'll leave the same immunity as a normal possession. But in terms of getting through possession, it's a lot easier to get this one through. So I chose this one over a bigger damage hit that was Darkness and did Nanovirus because you're already doing Nanovirus up here. And yeah, I'd rather have the opportunity to possess somebody on the other side. That can be tactically very, very useful. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I think, the best thing to go with in this situation. So that's a good skill. And then we have this one. Destroys Spy Ninjas. Restores all cooldowns to itself. Applies Mechanical Hater to itself. Gives one extra turn to itself. These are 3 very good things. The first one, of course, will be if he has used any of his skills or somebody activated his skill downs with a skill, then he'll just be able to use all his skills immediately again. Very useful. The second part, he's going to give himself Mechanical Hater. That's for 3 turns. That means that if he hits somebody from the mechanical book, he's going to do 3 times damage, which, of course, again, is very, very useful situationally. But you know, even if that wasn't there, it's going to give him an extra turn, which means if he has this skill available, he can use any other skill that he's got. That's all, because he's just going to restore the cooldowns, get an extra turn, and then he can attack using any of the other skills. Very useful. Does it get rid of the cooldown for this one? I'm just thinking, could he just like chain this one skill over and over again? Not that you'd want to. I'm just curious as to whether that would work or not. Anyway, this makes him somebody very useful against mechanical individuals. So, including himself. After all, remember, he's from the mechanical book himself. So he could use this to beat himself up. But that's a very good skill right there. Very good utility, right? You never know when you might use that. And he's actually pretty darn good. He's not a damage dealer. He's got a really good strength, and his speed is really good. And of course, his life is really good. So he's got good stats. But the thing about it is, if you look at what he does, like this one here, he's blinding, he's nanovirus. Nanovirus is a torture effect, but it has the extra added thing in terms of not letting them put positive status effects on themselves, right? This one here removes positive status effects from the group and gives them guard down before attacking. So this one here, heavy special damage, but then he also corrupts them, right? The exclusive possession. And this lets him do all kinds of good stuff to himself, including giving himself Mechanical Hater. So he's not a damage dealer. He's more of a supporty dude, right? But he's good support. I mean, he's going to do damage, and he's really going to help the team. There's lots of things he can do here. This one here, the blindness and the nanovirus, well, it's going to make them hard to hit, and it's going to make them hard to do things for themselves. This one here, take all those shields and regenerations and buffs off, give them guard down so your team can't miss, and then slip some damage in there too, you know, and then corruption. So he's very, very good. He's definitely not Shade Moon. I'm guessing what they're referring to is, of course, the status cast down here. But of course, that's rank 3, so I don't ever see getting this guy to rank 3. But he's still pretty good. Pretty good. He's definitely not a damage dealer, right? I mean, his strength is that of a damage dealer, but he's not a damage dealer. I take that as his stats are all just really good, right? Because his speed is very good, too. So he could be used in a lot of different ways. As a result, I wouldn't put any more than 1 strength on him. As a matter of fact, I would say there's kind of justification for putting a speed and then maybe a support speed on him. That's kind of what I'm thinking of, because remember, I do believe he's support. So you should put some kind of support on him. I mean, what you could do is put a damage and 2 support speeds on him. So he's really helping the team, because that's kind of what he does. And you know what? I'm leaning heavily towards that. I mean, I like the idea of him going faster, but if he's going to be support, he might as well be supporting the entire team in any way he can. I'm going to have to think about that. You know, definitely 1 damage. Give him a good damage, because he does have a good strength, and it's important to take advantage of that. But the thing is that 1 support speed for sure. Do I put a single target speed on him or another support speed? Gonna have to think about that. But you know what? There's definitely motivation for both of them. Him going faster means he can do more. But, you know, I'd kind of like him supporting the entire team and making them all move faster. So anyway, this is Zorgon. He's very good. He's not a damage dealer. He's not as good as Shade Moon. Shade Moon is a different kind of individual, so he's not at that level. But he's definitely very useful. You could slip him in there for damage and support, and he's definitely going to help you out. Anyway, I think that's going to do for now. So thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it. And play games, because games are fun. See ya.